Alright, welcome to Video Packets. So for this one, I'm going to be going over Lab Session 4, Ligaments. So I'm just going to follow straight through the image packet. As always, this is a study tool for you. So pause, go backwards, rewatch, do whatever you need to do in order to understand and get a visualization of what this stuff looks like when it's not just on paper, but actually kind of moving in 3D. So first up, we are going to do the right shoulder interior-ish view. So you'll be looking at it like this. The first thing I'll start with is the glenohumeral. So the glenohumeral is this big, thick section through here. If you remember from lecture, it's actually made up of 3 different ligaments that more or less fuse together to go across from the glenoid to the humerus. So across. Our next one is the coracohumeral. You will see that one right here. Yes, so right here. It looks a little different in your image packet because I think this is a slightly different model. But the way we know that it's the coracohumeral is because if we trace it all the way back through here, underneath, and then up, it goes from the coracoid back to the humerus. So coracohumeral, mix the words together, coracohumeral. Our next one is the coracoacromial. So that goes from the coracoid process to the acromial. So right across here, that is the coracohumeral, or excuse me, the coracoacromial. Our next one is the acromioclavicular, so that holds the clavicle to the acromion process. So that would be right here. We have our acromion process, our clavicle sticking out. It's just held together there. So you can see it kind of peeking through there and around on this side like this. We also have right here is my personal favorite, the transverse scapular. So it goes across the scapula. So anytime you see the word transverse in anatomy, it means it's going across something. So the transverse scapular goes across and kind of forms this foramen of sorts. So it creates an opening. We also have the trapezoid and conoid. These are probably the 2 that are mixed up the most often. Both of these are underneath the coracoclavicular. So you have the coracoclavicular is both, and then the smaller piece of the coracoclavicular is the trapezoid and conoid. So if we look at our models, let me orient myself first. We have the trapezoid right here, which wraps up, and then the conoid, which is down underneath. So conoid, and then trapezoid. All right, so that's enough for this one. Go ahead and flip the page over, and we have our right hip anterolateral. Okay, so for this one, excuse me, obviously that's not the hip. Here we go. The iliofemoral and the pubofemoral first. So we're looking at it from the anterior lateral side. So this is lateral, this is anterior because that fossa faces forward. So underneath is the pubofemoral. So we see it down here. Basically, if we're pointing at a ligament on the lower part of the hip, it's going to be the pubofemoral because it kind of makes up this lower portion of the anterior side. Just above it is the iliofemoral. So the ilio goes from the iliac bone, which is this section, down to the femur. So iliofemoral. Again, the pubofemoral down here going from the pubic bone to the femur. So then we will go ahead and go to page 3. It says right hip posterior-medial. So again, just the opposite side. We only have one here. It's on the back side. We have our ischiofemoral, which goes from the ischiac bone, down to the femur. So across here. And it's probably the only one we'd point to on the back side. So that's enough for the hip. Pretty simple. Again, iliofemoral, pubofemoral, backside ischiofemoral. Next up, we have our knee. I'm going to start with this knee model, and then I'll switch in a minute here. So what we're looking at here is the right knee anterior view. Looks like this, page 4. So the first thing you'll notice is the patellar. So here's our patella bone, our kneecap. Our kneecap has to be held in place from the quadriceps tendon down to the quadriceps ligament. So, but the whole thing comes together and it's just called the patellar usually. So this is the patellar. Then we have the medial collateral, which is going to be on this side. It's the medial collateral, or you might have heard the MCL. Again, medial because it's on the tibial side. And then if we go to the fibular side, we have the lateral collateral, or the LCL. So that's the bone, or the ligaments here. Again, you can see LCL, patellar, MCL. Okay, moving on to page 5. For this one, we're going to open up the knee. And just because this model is a little bit more sturdy than the other one, I'm going to use this model, which is broken, but actually gives us a great view because it's broken. So we can open it up and see what's underneath. Okay, so here we have the ACL, the PCL, and the transverse. So if we open it up, let's see, it's slightly broken here. So let me figure out what we're doing. Okay, the first one you'll see is if we go from the posterior side, see again the back side, we have our PCL. It would strap down here. I know it's loose, but it goes here. Posterior cruciate ligament. And then we have right here the ACL, which is actually snapped in this case, but ACL would go there and then pop out and connects right there. So you can see there's the rest of it down here and then here. Those connect, make the ACL. We also have the transverse. So the transverse goes across because, again, like I said earlier, transverse means across anytime you see it in anatomy. So we have our two meniscus. You've heard of the meniscus in the knee. There's these two menisci in the knee. They don't want you to know those for whatever reason, but it's good to know anyways. That is where, if you hear someone flipping their meniscus or tearing their meniscus, that is through here. But this piece right here is representative of the transverse. Do you see how it kind of goes across from one meniscus to the other meniscus? Connects those menisci. All right. So that is our ligaments. As always, if you have any questions or need to see anything in more detail, reach out to myself and our Scarlett and we'll help you out. Thanks.